basketball fans, welcome to your favorite WNBA YouTube show. That's right, Around the Rim. We are here for our final episode of the season. That's right, we're having our season recap today. I'm your co-host, LaChina Robinson, joined by co-host Terrika Foster-Brasby, and the 2022 season has come to an end.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready either. We're so sad. Actually, I am ready. Let me stop lying, because you see this face, I need a tan. Like, if you put my face, this face, up to the first show of the season, remember when I was in Barbados? Honey, skin was on. Now I'm looking a hot mess. Anyway.
Oh, God.
But I am going to miss the season and miss ATR. We've had so much fun with everyone. Just want to thank you for your support. We will absolutely be doing episodes here and there in the off season when big news breaks or free agency, probably draft lottery, because we're expecting a spicy off season. We'll get to that in a moment. Terrika, let's start where the season just ended. And that is with a huge congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces that won the first championship in franchise history. And guys, in the last 4 years, we've had 3 WNBA franchises win their first championship: the 2019 Mystics, the 2021 Chicago Sky, and now the Las Vegas Aces. So shout out to those organizations that are getting it together and bringing the trophy. Vegas won in 4 games, and they ended their season on the road in Connecticut. The Sun lost 3-1 in the series. Terrika, I know this is not a happy time for Sun fans, so let me check in on you. How you feeling?
The sun is not shining today in Connecticut. It is raining, it is gloomy, and I feel like that's because the universe knew I was going to have to record this show today and talk about this particular topic, knowing this is still a very soft spot for us. But all in all, I am going to take the high road and say that it is never easy to lose. And it certainly is never easy to lose on your home floor, right? Like, you want to lose. I mean, you don't never want to lose, but if you're going to lose, you certainly don't want to lose a championship and watch another team celebrate on your home floor. So I think that is what was probably the most like bittering moment for Connecticut fans, just watching another team do it like on your turf. But all in all, I think that what this team accomplished, they wanted to win the championship and they didn't get that done. But realistically, there were so many historic moments for this team. There were so many moments to celebrate for this team that I know they're not walking away like happy about the season, but they certainly don't have a reason to hang their head. You know, Alyssa Thomas, back-to-back consecutive triple doubles, setting records in the finals. Like, that's nuts. You know, making the first one for this team. DeWanna Bonner broke several records this year. Once again, making it far and deep into the postseason without a key player for your team for the 3rd year in a row. I mean, it's like this team is built to be resilient. And so I'm very proud of them. I know Connecticut Sun fans are very proud of them, and we will be interested in seeing what this roster looks like in 2023. Might be some changes on the sideline. We don't know. I haven't heard anything. I haven't got any tea or anything like that, so I'm not breaking any news. But
what? You don't have the tea for us?
I know. Isn't that crazy? I don't have the tea today. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see how this lineup shakes up, how this roster shakes up in 2023. I mean, the core players, DeWanna, Alyssa, Jonquel, like, these players are all signed again for next year, but Brianna Jones is an unrestricted free agent. Courtney Williams is an unrestricted free agent. So it's interesting to see what they will do in terms of keeping players or making trades. And I'll say this too, LaChina, I always think that it's really interesting when you have managers or when you have general managers who also have to be coaches, right? Because you're always put in this position of, do I win now or do I plan for the future? And I feel like that's a serious question that Kirk Miller has to be asking himself and that Jennifer Rosati has to be asking herself. Like, what are we doing? You know, we've talked about the window possibly closing. We've talked about how close we are. We've done all these things. We've had this lineup together for a while. Like, what's the move? Is the move going to be to continue to go with this win now scenario? Or at what point do we say, okay, maybe we consider what we need to do to plan for the future? So that's what I'm interested in seeing with this team.
Yeah. As you look at the salary situation, to your point, if they did want to blow up this team, it would mean moving some chess pieces, right? Like DeJuan is locked in, Alyssa's locked in for next year, Jonquel's locked in, Jasmine Thomas is locked in, and the unrestricted free agents you talked about, in addition to Bria Hartley, and then restricted free agent would be Natisha Heidemann. You know, it's interesting because the question is always, when does it get stale, right? Like, when do we say we don't have the right pieces on this roster? I kind of feel like there's a couple of things Connecticut is facing. Mm-hmm. Number one is maybe the pieces just don't fit together, right? Like, that's a thing. There were some changes this year with injury that they could not, were beyond their control. Jasmine Thomas being out definitely hurt you from a leadership standpoint. So you weren't necessarily bringing back the same team when you made the finals in 2019. You added DeWanna Bonner, you brought back Courtney Williams. So you thought with Bonner, that kind of gives you what you needed, which you didn't have in 2019. So it's like, maybe these pieces just don't fit well together. And it doesn't have to even be basketball wise. It could be personality wise. It could be chemistry. It could be a number of things, but we've seen this team win and do well and play so hard on defense. So that doesn't seem like it's necessarily the thing, but you never know. And then the other question is, maybe it's about individual performances. And this is where I feel like there's two things that stick with me with the Connecticut Sun. Number one is, I really do believe they need a strong point guard. They need a stronger voice. Like, when Jasmine Thomas comes back, can she be that? Is that a lot of pressure to put on her coming off of an ACL? This team at points in this finals needed a little more of a floor general, like someone to kind of snatch everybody up and be like, okay, the ball's going here. This is happening there. Kind of like we saw from Chelsea Gray, or kind of like we saw from Courtney Vandersloot the year before that, or kind of like we saw from Sue Bird in 2020. Or kind of like we saw from Natasha Cloud and Christy Tolliver in 2019. I think that could be something that helps Connecticut. The other thing that I believe that would really propel Connecticut is if Jonquel Jones accepts that she is the best player in this league. Okay? And that's
other people in the back.
And that's no
other people in the back.
That's no disrespect. And when I say best player in this league, she is what Asia Wilson and Breanna Stewart are to the WNBA. I don't know that she knows that. And so when she steps into that mentally, physically, all the ways, Jonquel is unstoppable. To me, if she was like mentally and physically like at the top of her game in every aspect, there would be no answer for her. The level of versatility on offense, 6'6", her body, the shot blocking. I mean, there's just so many aspects of it. Mm-hmm. But she's also still young. What is she, 28? Everybody matures and grows into who they are supposed to be at a different time. But I really feel like Jonquel would be a repeated MVP in this league if she steps into who she is. And I love her. She's one of my favorite people, players, great personality, all those things. But let me tell you this, when she accepts that and steps into it, Connecticut will be fine.
Yep. So, and they got until 2024 to make that happen, because that's when her contract is up. So
that's where we're at with it. All right. So the other end of things, the Las Vegas Aces won their first championship. Congratulations to the Aces. Chelsea Gray was phenomenal, the MVP of the finals. Asia Wilson's season, I believe now Asia Wilson joins a very elite group of NBA and WNBA players that have been Rookie of the Year, MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year. The other three that have done it, Michael Jordan, Tamika Catchings, Candace Parker, period. Now Asia. So I've always known that A'ja Wilson was a great player, but what she did this season, like watching her dominate, I was just blown away. I was honestly blown away. And I think it was as much mental with her level of aggressiveness and her leadership as it was everything she was physically doing on the court. Like I was just, I mean, at times I was like, am I watching Lisa Leslie? Like, am I watching, like I started to think about all of the players that we've seen just dominate, especially at that position. And I was like, wow, I'm really having like A'ja Wilson, she has stepped into it. She stepped into it. That's what happened. She stepped into it.
You just mentioned that Jonquel is 28, almost 28. A'ja 26.
I know. Everyone does it at a different time.
Like, so she's not, no, and what I'm not doing is comparing. What I'm saying is 26 is so young.
Yeah. To be a two-time MVP.
Which means that we still have so much time to continue to watch her. She's just in her prime. She's just in her prime. She's a two-time MVP. She's an Olympic gold medalist. Let's not forget that, because she got that under her belt last year.
Yes.
Playing in FIBA right now, so she could very well be a FIBA world champion too at the end of this. And now you can add WNBA champion to that. And she's 26.
Yes. And I also believe, just like Dawn Staley got the best out of A'ja Wilson, I think it also takes the right coach, right? To make her a priority, to empower her. Becky Hammon was the right coach. I don't think Bill Laimbeer was the right coach to take A'ja to where she is now. No disrespect to Bill. I just don't think that was what he was going to get out of her. So that's the other aspect of this Las Vegas Aces organization that we're talking about now as we, look at this championship, but also look into the future, is you've got two incredible players anchoring you in Chelsea Gray and A'ja Wilson. Let's not forget Plum was first team all WNBA, like Raquana Williams. Baby
stepped up.
Bebe stepped up in the finals after us questioning Vegas's bench all season long. That ends up being the X factor.
Right.
But I ran into Mark Davis in the hallway. This is after the game. Must have been after game 3 loss, because everyone thought that Vegas could possibly sweep. Mark Davis was there. If they won the championship, obviously the owner would be there. So I ran into him in the hallway afterwards, and he said, "Hey, LaChina." And I'm like, "Oh, hey, Mark." First of all, the fact that he acknowledges me, knows who, he's like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "Boy, we kind of both looked at each other and we're like, eh." And I was like, "Well, I guess you'll have to get it done Sunday." And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "And now I'm going to have to miss the Raiders game." So we kind of had a little back and forth. But what he ultimately said was, me missing that last game, I guess it was 1 or 2 to go to the Raiders, he wasn't about making a choice. He was like, I want to get the WNBA to the point where we don't have to be up against the NFL, where, we put ourselves in good positions. He was like, you don't even understand, this offseason, I'm about to raise the bar even more. Like, he was talking about, imagine all that he has already done, like paying Becky Hammon over
That's the name.
Becky Hammon over $1 million. Investing in that team. The parade was fantastic. Did you see the parade, Terrika?
Yes. It ended.
Vegas was in these streets.
They was outside.
Down the street.
They was outside.
Right. And so you look at how he has set this model for, this is how you run a WNBA franchise. He's hungry to do even more than that. So anyway, looking at Vegas, they're going to be contenders every year. Could this be the beginning of the dynasty? It absolutely could. And we'll get into this later on, but I think a lot of it has to do also with the instability of other teams and some of the unknowns. This team already has their chemistry. They've got their coach that loves being there. Do I think Becky's going to leave for the NBA? I don't know. Yes, it's so much more money. But she loves this. You can look at her and tell she has so much joy coaching this team. She's got her kids with her every day. She's always called the WNBA home. So I don't know what will happen with Becky, but I just say that this is the beginning of something very special in this organization. And they got Jackie back. They got Terrika back. They
got everybody. They got their whole starting 5 coming back for significantly less than they could be making. because they could be making more, and they could be somewhere else making more. But I think that just really speaks to the dedication, to the loyalty that they have to this franchise, to the camaraderie that they've built with each other, and to the bond that they've built with Becky, who definitely has come into this league and started her offense and started her what she wanted to do and how she wanted to run it. And just to piggyback off your point very quickly on team structure, the team structure from a front office standpoint is literally the prototype. You've got not only an owner who is invested and who comes from a family of investing in a diverse culture, because we know that Al Davis was one as the owner of the Raiders who was very much so into ensuring that his coaching staff and front office came from a diverse background. But Mark Davis has done something very similar in that you got Nikki Farkas as your team president, and you got Natalie Williams as your GM. And what you've done, and you've got Becky Hammon as your coach. You've brought back people who already had an investment in
Jennifer
WNBA. And Jennifer Azzi, yes. You have brought back all these people who have an investment and have a tie and an interest in the WNBA and in the WNBA succeeding. And that's something that players respect. And that's something that fans respect. And it's something that people will learn to respect even more as they start to develop their own franchises. That's intentional, in my opinion. Like that to me is a way that you keep the legends of the game in the game, not always necessarily needing to be on the sideline to coach, but you need those voices. You need those people. You need that. And I think that they just really have set the prototype for a lot of teams who have been in existence a lot longer than the Las Vegas Aces. I understand that their history comes back to the Utah Stars, but the Las Vegas Aces, as constructed currently, has been in that city since 2018. That's 5 years. They've had 3 number 1 picks between Kelsey, Asia, and Jackie. And within that 3 years of having those picks, they went to the WNBA Finals twice, semifinals once, and finally won. So that right there lets you know clearly something about how they're doing it is working. Take notice.
And I do want to give some love to Bill Laimbeer because he did put that roster together when some people were like, oh, you're picking Kelsey Plum first. Oh, you're picking Jackie Young first. Those pieces seem to have come together very well. But to your point, shout out to the Aces front office. Nikki has been fantastic. The crowd is great. Natalie came in fresh off the streets and signed everybody back. Okay. I mean, one of her first jobs stepping in was she had to get everybody re-signed, and she did that. So anyway, I know we have to move on with our recap, but just wanted to say shout out to the Aces. Congrats to the Connecticut Sun on a great season. And I'm sure these storylines will be playing out next season as Terrika and I are predicting. All right. So Terrika and I came up with our top 5 moments of the season. We're not going to drag this out, but we figured a list would help us kind of stay on track here and talking about some things that stood out to us. So number 1 on my list of top 5 moments, I'm just going to go through all 5, and then I'll come back and just quickly go through them. Okay. So number 1 on my top 5 list was, and they're not in order, so let me just say that, Sylvia Fowles dunking in the All-Star game. Don't try to write that on your list, Terrika. I knew you was going to try to copy me.
Look what I got.
Okay, look at us.
What
a moment. Like, we love Syl. She played for Chicago for many years. It was so poetic seeing her dunk the ball at 36 years old and being like, listen, I still got it. Led the league in rebounding on top of that. As someone who did not, I think she was second team all WNBA, but as someone who did not get the love and appreciation that she should have gotten, the visibility in her career, I feel like this season we really were able to give Syl her flowers. So that was definitely a highlight for me. Okay. She absolutely deserved it. Number 2, the contract divorces. When I say memorable, I'm not saying they got to be like, you know what I'm saying, all great. This is just like, I woke up and was like, what is happening?
I'm calling a flag on the play.
The movement during the season was definitely kind of shocking. Liz Cambage leaving LA, Tina Charles, Phoenix. I would add to that Skylar Diggins-Smith ending her season early for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was some moments where we were like personnel wise, like what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely something that stands out to me. The other thing for me personally was just the comeback by the Atlanta Dream, an organization that had 4 players signed to contract at the end of last season, hired a new coach in Tanisha Wright, like literally played without Tiffany Hayes for 19 games and still had a chance to make the playoffs. Like I cannot express the level of excitement that there was in the city. I called Delta to book my flights and the operators be like, girl, I saw the dream this summer. So, just it was great and awesome to be a part of. Obviously, I call the games alongside the amazing Angel Gray and Tabitha Turner. So I'm Wilkins. So I'm happy that, I get to do this with my girls, but There was just such a wonderful feeling in Atlanta. The crowds, I don't care. Atlanta got the best crowd environment. Like we may not have it number wise. You may not feel us the way you feel in Vegas or you feel in Seattle, but when it comes to doing the swag surf.
Oh, y'all got that. Y'all got that.
So that was another really like memorable thing for me. The next thing was honestly Becky Hammon coming back to the league and getting $1 million contract. Now, yesterday was Black Women Equal Pay Day. And we also have a Women's Equal Pay Day. Long story short is we all know the players, the coaches, everyone involved in the WNBA deserves more money than they make on average. I love that Becky Hammon said, listen, y'all, I know you think the NBA is the top of the mountain, but I'm here to tell you that the WNBA has just as much value for a top-notch coach who became the first coach to win in their rookie season. In their first season. Van Chancellor doesn't count because it was the first season of the league. Right. But we always say for some reason, or people always say, oh, well, why don't you work the NBA? Because I'm where I want to be. Like, why does the men's sport have to be the step up? And Becky getting that $1 million deal, Mark Davis putting his money in the investment commitment where its mouth is, that whole thing, like that was a huge moment for the sport. Yeah. And hopefully we see that happening more often. People that are just like, write the check, like, and also people who are seeing the value in the WNBA for what it is. Like, if you want to be a men's sports only fan, do that, but don't knock this league. And just realizing, I've always felt like that as a broadcaster. I've gotten opportunities to work NFL or NBA, whatever. I'm where I want to be. And yes, it would be more money. Yes, it would be more eyes, but this is my purpose. Like I am in my purpose as a Black woman that covers a sport that's 75% plus Black. And I might've gone up on that number a little bit, but what I'm saying is shout out to making that $1 million. All right. My final thing in my top 5 moments of this season was drum roll. We had a WNBA countdown show.
Yes, that was super dope.
We were so happy. Like, and we know fans have been tweeting all the time. They're like, y'all should have a show. Oh, how come ESPN doesn't have a? You don't think we want a show? And I won't get into all the things that it takes to make happen behind the scenes, but shout out to Jenny Pitaro, Dave Roberts in particular, who has pushed us from the top. Sarah Gaero, our coordinating producer. Like we had a WNBA show. Like we had a show where we can talk about games like before, a little bit after, during the playoffs, where we had double headers. Like it just felt so good. That's why we created Around the Rim. That's why we created this show, because we wanted a space to be able to do that. So people don't understand how many years this has been in the making. But to that point, I want to send a shout out to you, Terrika, to our entire ESPN WNBA team. The numbers this season were phenomenal. When you look at Disney networks in 2022, we had our most viewed full season in 16 years. We had our most viewed postseason in 15 years. We had our most viewed semifinals in 8 years. And that was plus 45% from last year. Our opening round was the most viewed in 15 years. The regular season most viewed in 14 years. All-Star game most viewed in 7 years, but had a 53% jump from last year. And then the WNBA draft was the most viewed draft in 18 years. So that's my final thing. Just shout out to everybody and ATR. I mean, our show, we had strong viewership. We want more people to watch next season, but that definitely is a part of all of this, right? Like all of us doing our part in our little sectors is what makes those numbers grow and what make this league grow. So with that, that's my top 5.
I love it. I love it. So I am going to skip 2 of mine because we had 2 of the same, which was I had still All-Star / retirement. So there was that, which was her dunk in the All-Star game. I thought that was super dope. And just the love that she received, her retirement, I cried. Like, I was just, I cried. So there's that. And then I had team breakups. So that was the contract divorces. That was Derek Fisher being fired mid-season. That was
Marianne Stanley getting fired.
Coach. Exactly. Marianne Stanley being fired the year that she's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like it was a lot. That was a lot. So I had team breakups. So we had the same thing there. My other 3 though that we didn't have is, so this is, me as a personal fan, I loved AT's comeback story. To me, this year was so dope to see her come back and literally dominate this league. Like, I don't think anybody thinks that they're going to come back off of an injury and really like stink up the joint. I think people think that they're going to come back when they're ready and they're ready to perform and they're ready to play. Did I see AT being this player this year? No, I did not. And so it was just so incredibly fun to watch the many moments, the many times that she just was the engine for Connecticut. So loved watching AT. That was a big thing for me. The 4th thing on my list was overtime thrillers. We opened up this season with like 3 back-to-back overtime games. And I was like, what is happening year 26? This is wild. Like, I believe it was New York and Chicago, and then Sabrina Ionescu hit that thing. I was like, what is happening? So overtime thrillers, like the matchups, the product on the floor this season was just so good. There were so many close games. There were so many thrilling moments. Do I need to mention game 4 of the WNBA semifinals between Las Vegas and Seattle? I mean, nuts, like wild. Nuts. So that was definitely one of the things for me. And then the last thing on my list was this year I got to be finally a sideline reporter for the WNBA. And that was the most memorable thing ever. Like that was just like, you guys may or may not know, but just, it has always been a passion of mine and a dream of mine to be on the sideline for the WNBA. And I have fought my butt off and argued with the people and the powers that be.
And worked my butt off
to finally just get an opportunity. So to finally get that this season was something that I will never forget. It is obviously one of the most memorable things for me. And so I'm very, very, very excited about that. And I also have an honorable mention.
Yes.
Honorable mention is all of the ignorant stuff we heard players and coaches say while being mic'd up, AKA Asia at All-Star talking about Kelsey when we was talking about bricking. That's not what she meant. Like all certain folks saying stuff they probably didn't mean to say. Like, this year's mic'd up was lit. Is all I'm saying.
Wild.
Lit. So
yes, we need a whole run back of that. We need a whole.
We need a montage of all of the mic'd ups that we've heard.
I agree. I do want to throw in there too another congratulations for you, because you are part of the ESPN social team and you guys doubled your, the number of WNBA focused social posts. And then those efforts resulted in 1.1 billion impressions, a 20% increase over 2021. And let me say that I do feel such a difference with you, with Brittany being in charge of WNBA social, pushing the agenda. We're on the ESPN handle more, like just so many things. So shout out to you guys. that are making change as well on that team. All right. So our final segment is, what are we looking forward to next season? And Terrika and I have our top 5. I will move more briskly through this list. You ready?
Yeah.
I wish I had some little glasses to put on, but as y'all can see, I'm a hot mess right now. I gotta get my life together. All right, top 5 for next season. Number 1 is personnel. Oh, those are cute. Personnel movements / changes. Okay. We already know prioritization is an issue. With that being said, Stewie is on a 1-year deal. Stewie's deal is not now over. Where will Breanna Stewart be next year? Is she going to New York, home, / the team that hosted her on a little visit? Is she staying in Seattle with Jewel Lloyd? What will happen with Skylar Diggins-Smith? Diana Taurasi, will she be back? Tina Charles, have we seen the last of Tina? Liz Cambage, is she done? Will Candace Parker retire? We don't know. But these personnel moves / changes, what happens with the Sun, we already talked about. You know, there's some teams, LA's entire roster is like unrestricted agents. So there are also some broader stroke, team personnel situations that are urgent. And I would throw into that, and this is kind of number 2, is these coaching vacancies. In case y'all hadn't heard, Vicki Johnson was not renewed at Dallas. Carlos Knox was released as the interim coach at Indy. And then Derek Fisher has been gone. And Fred is now back at Auburn as an assistant coach. So we also, Fred is not an option for that job either. So what happens with the coaching changes? Did I leave any out?
No, those are the only 3 I know.
All right. So that's number 2 on my list. Third is next season, will Vegas repeat? That's a question. It's definitely on my list. We talked a lot about that earlier. Number 4 is we will have more Around the Rim shows next season. I'm excited about that. We got a late start this year. Shout out to Dre, our producer. We always talk about her. She's amazing. Wish y'all could meet her. She's a little camera shy, but we have had a blast this season. So next year, more shows. We're going to be starting early. Hopefully we'll do some live shows. Have more. We're going to figure out maybe how we can get some guests on the show. Terrika and I are going to go back and kind of revamp this show a little bit next season. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the last, sorry, 2 quick things. And then there is a major one. So my last thing is I can't wait to meet legend next season. Terriika Hamby has announced that she is having a baby. If you guys know or don't know, Terriika and I both went to Wake Forest. And I was actually there shortly after Amaya was born. So watched her grow up, but Terriika announced at the parade that she is pregnant with her 2nd child, named Legend, a little boy. So I'm super, super happy. Can you believe she pushed through the end of the season? Okay. Anyway.
It's giving real Serena. It's giving real Australian Open right now. Okay.
It's giving women are amazing. That's what it's doing. So shout out to Terrika. And then the number 1 thing I'm looking forward to next season is I am looking forward to the return of Brittney Griner.
Yes.
And I'm trying not to get emotional right now, but it's been a hard season for all of us that love Brittney. She is still not home. I think we're approaching 300 days. Sherelle Griner recently met with President Biden at the White House and was assured they're doing everything they can. But there were also some news outlets reporting that Sherelle was saying that Brittney is not doing well mentally, and you can imagine. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Brittney coming back next year because we miss her, and even if it's not to basketball. We just want her home. We just want her home. Yeah. Hopefully that'll be happening any day now. So
yes,
that's it.
That's a stellar list, LaChina, and I honestly can't top it. I'll add a few more things to it because you hit on so much. On my list, I had CP3 retirement. with the question mark because I don't know if we're going to make it to next season. Candace is she's so surprising with the way she delivers her news. It might be like December and she'll be like, oh, by the way, while I'm sitting on this TNT bench.
Right.
I'm done.
And we've heard from a lot of the best, like the greats, that it's like, I'll know after the off season. Like I remember you telling me that last year, and probably how Diana feels. Like, let me see how my body feels. Can I keep my off season regimen? It's going to be so hard for Candace. That's why I respect her so much, because with her TNT schedule, being a mom, like for her to be all WNBA this year and play to the level which she did was crazy. Yeah. So she'll probably wait but she wants to give her team an opportunity to make moves too. And Chicago's roster is way up in the air as well. Yep. So I'm sure it'll happen before free agency if there is an announcement.
If there is. Yep. So that's what I had. So we shared that on our list. We also shared Brianna. Well, I had Brianna as a completely separate one. You had it like all together, but I had, Brianna - New York ? So that was on my list.
It's a huge thing.
It's a big thing. Yeah. Number 3 on my list is, will Indiana finally have a winning record? Like, at what point does Indiana finally get their blank together? Like, you need a new coach. What is Lynn Dunn going to do? Like, every question in the world that you can ask, I'm asking about Indiana, because I feel like talent is there. I feel like with Destiny Henderson, I feel like Queen Egbo and Alyssa Smith, like I feel like the talent is there. Who's going to help hone and develop them? Who's going to lead them? What is the kind of voice that is needed in order to get the best out of them? These are questions that I don't know if I have the answer to. Certainly don't know if Lynn Dunn has the answer to them. I feel like she's going in the right direction with at least trying to do something different, but I don't know. I'm interested to see, when you got 4 first-round draft picks, some got to give, right? Yeah. So that was number 3 on my list. Mm-hmm. Number 4 on my list is, will the WNBA finally have a league pass that actually works for everyone?
Well,
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Well,
WNBA people this season showed us that if you place it there, folks will watch. You got to make it easy for people to find the product. So please listen to the people, listen to us, WNBA, get a league pass that works for everybody so everyone can enjoy this amazing product that we are putting out that they are putting out on the floor. So that was number 4 for me.
Ooh, Lord.
That league, people got to see it. League pass, people got to see it. So that was number 4 for me. And number 5, last but not least, of course, I always got to bring a Connecticut Sun moment in here. Will Coach Miller still have a job? And I'm not necessarily saying Connecticut or not. Just in my opinion, even if Coach Miller is not with Connecticut in 2023, will he be somewhere else? Because it's not that like the man can't coach, right? So I'm just curious to, will he have a job? That's where I am.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
So much to look forward to. And I meant to also mention in my group of players, Courtney Vandersloot. Where's Sloot gonna be? Might be in Seattle. With Stewie? We don't know. Wow, that's it. We went through our whole list. I did want to give a quick shout out to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame inductees. We didn't get a chance to talk about it because there was so much happening with playoffs and finals, but shout out to Swin, who I know meant a lot to you, and you're someone being from Detroit, and Swin Cash, so deserving, Lindsay Whalen, Marianne Stanley, also Mike Vopel, who is someone that you and I, both, one of our colleagues that we have so much respect for. So shout out to him. Huge and well-deserved induction. And anyone else I know there were a couple other people there on the women's basketball side. And then wanted to just remind fans that the FIBA World Cup is happening right now. So if you have ESPN Plus, they are streaming in some different places, but continue to support these women in international play as they go overseas. pray for their protection, or if you don't pray, send them well thoughts, whatever you do, because, you know, many of them will go on to continue playing in other places, in foreign countries. So, yeah. Anything else, T?
You know what? I feel like I forgot to add something to my top moments, which is very important.
Okay.
I met Isaiah Thomas this year, y'all. As a Detroit Pistons fan, listen here. I was like, first of all, thank you for coming to watch this Connecticut Sun and Las Vegas Aces game. And I know you're probably here because Bill Laimbeer, your boy, but at any rate, you about to get in this video. Because you and that's what happened. So that's a moment.
It was a big moment. Congratulations to Terrika.
But no, like, that's it for me. Like, this show has been amazing. Like, I love that we have evolved to this place. It really took us a long time to get here. You are such an inspiration to so many people in China. So thank you for continuing to drive the bus and drive the conversation.
Don't make me emotional. I'm the plug on the show.
I know. You are. The waterworks will turn on. But as you give so many people their flowers, you deserve yours. So thank you, LaChina, for just being you.
Oh, T. Well, I will say that this season definitely was special for me because, you know, I had a really, really rough off season. Like, the time between 2021 and 2022 was a very difficult time for me personally. And like, coming back and covering the sport that I love and being with you, which I love being with you, and us having this platform and this growth has just meant so much to me. So to everyone, supporters, fans, friends, family, to UT, like, you just never know how much your kindness can mean to someone in the moment. So thank you to everyone for helping me to get my smile back. I really, really appreciate that. And we're going to be bigger and better next year. And I love you, T. You're going to continue to grow even more. I won't be covering college basketball. As many of you guys know, I no longer cover college basketball, but we're hoping Terrika will be representing in that space. But we will be back with some shows here and there. In the meantime, if you want to find us, we're on Twitter at LaChina Robinson. Terrika is at She Knows Sports. We are at Around the Rim Pod on Twitter, and we are at Around the Rim Podcast at gmail.com if you want to email us. Shout out again to our bomb producer, Drea. It was our first year working with her. She's amazing. Thanks for your support, for the laughs, for all of the advice we've given each other pre-taping on all things we won't get into right now. But yes, we are grateful for all of our fans. Thank y'all so much. And T, anything else? See y'all next season.
That's it, y'all. See y'all next season.
Around the Rim, out. Peace. Girl, you over here about to make me cry.
You over here. Look, you see my eyes. I said, LaChina, cut it out.